All right, and we're live. Okay. All right. You know what it is, guys. This is Payload Pat, and we're back at it again with another episode of K8's Cadence. And we definitely thank you for joining us. We do this every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And we just, talk Kubernetes and go over some, practice questions in preparation for the CKA, the Kubernetes exam, the Certified Kubernetes Administrator exam to be exact. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and go over some questions today. Again, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. But again, we're gonna go in today and start off with where we left off from last week's episode. So if you haven't seen that, you can check that out as well. But all in all, today we're going to be doing two things, specifically going over some persistent volumes and how to mount them to a pod, as well as going over some CKA mock exams with Code Cloud. So we'll be running through those questions together. So yep, stay tuned and hopefully you learn something. So yeah, so we're going to get started. And I guess the first important thing or concept to know is the pods. They are naturally ephemeral, which simply means that they can go away. And if pod was to, get shut down, or container rather, it gets shut down, all the data within that container is going to go away with it. So the concept of a persistent volume or volumes in general in Kubernetes is to have some type of persistence, state persistence. So what we have is, like, for example, host paths, or host volumes, where the volume is actually going to be on the node itself. So even if um, or within a pod, so even if a volume was a container was to disappear, restart or something, that data is still going to be within that pod. And there's different types of pods, basic pods, basic volumes, but they're, the one we're doing right now is going to be using I believe it's a persistent volume claim. So yeah, it's going to be a host path volume from what I'm seeing here. So yeah, so enough of me talking. So the first part here is to get the pod uh volume. So we have to create the volume first. And then it's called a persistent volume. And then after that, we have to create a persistent volume claim, which in essence allows you to claim a volume. And this is something that usually like a developer, someone would do. They'll request a pod uh, volume type kind of, and then based on if you already have a persistent volume, it will pretty much bind itself to your request or to your pod. So when you are trying to use it on your pod, you're able to go ahead and have access to it, which is pretty much going to be like locally. So we'll show you all how to do it. Um, but that's hopefully that that's a decent explanation. I'm sure I could have done a better job. But it's a very basic understanding of just storing your data, um, and not having to worry about it disappearing. So first thing we need to do is search up PV, or persistent volume, right? Did someone just join the chat? Oh, oh, DeLorean's back in action. How you doing? Welcome back. So first thing
Can
we're
you
doing
hear
is,
me?
yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. I had to join on my phone. All right.
Yeah, I
I'm in here.
see. Well, welcome. Thank you for joining. And yeah, we kind of just started, so you didn't really miss anything. Um, so yeah, and here it says a persistent volume is a piece of storage in a cluster that has been provisioned by an administrator or dynamically provisioned using storage classes. And in the resource in the cluster, just like a node is a cluster resource. So persistent volumes are volume plugins, like volumes, but they have a lifecycle independently of any individual pod that uses the PV. And there's different ways that you can have like a persistent volume, whether it's destroyed once a pod, is deleted or anything. So there's different methods that you can retain the data, delete it, or just make it unusable at all, until you decide to actually delete it manually. So those are one of the few ways. So yeah, so let's go down to creating a persistent volume. So let me do a Control F. Quick shortcut, as always, is to use kind, and then we're looking for persistent volume, although it's going to also show the claims. We're just looking for a basic persistent volume. example. So I think this one will work. So, all right, so I'll just go ahead and copy this. And again, if anyone's got any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Demo. So I'm just going to paste that in there and just make some modifications. So already know reclaim policy. I don't think that's a requirement, so I'm just going to delete that. Just trying to make everything light as possible. All right. So let's go back to what the question is asking for. So it says create a persistent volume named PV. And okay, so we need to name it PV or my initials, which is crazy. Um, and the capacity. So the capacity is going to be the size of the persistent volume. So we need this one to be 512 megabytes. So I'll do 5.2 E. And the volume mode doesn't say what the volume mode is, but I'm going to leave this as here unless I don't see it. And it's going to be file system. So that should work. And it says the access mode should be read write many. And there's different versions. So they got like read write once, read write many, and I believe there's a one more. But essentially, what the read write many is many nodes have access to this persistent to this volume. Um, and many of them, they can all like write to it. I believe read write once is it's only going to be once it's bound, it's only going to be usable for that one pod. So you won't be able to go ahead and pretty much use it like a network volume type of thing, like in like an in like NFS or something. So this one is going to be read write many, right? So read write many, and then the storage class name is very important. This needs to be. It says so let's say the persistent storage class name shared, right? So that needs to be shared. So let's go ahead and put that in there, shared. All right. So from the looks of it, I think for number one, it is good, but we need to do one more thing as far as adding the host path. So I believe it needs to be here. So it's going to be host path. And I think I might have that wrong, but we'll see. It needs to be in a data config. I haven't done this in a while, so but that's essentially saying, okay, on the node itself, where is the where this drive is going to be. So if I, for example, was to go in my terminal and I go in there and I'll, go through slash data slash config, it will be local to my actual device, like my PC, or in this case, it'll be the node. Um, so it's pretty much just going to be local to that node itself. So let's go ahead and see if this saves, if there's any problem with it. So I'm just going to try to create it and see if it goes through. And again, this is how we learn. So hopefully it is a mistake. So we can create this. Okay. Did not find expected key on line 11. So let's go ahead and edit it. So number 11, storage class name. Oh, but I think it needs to be spaced out. And I got that lined up right. I think that might be it. A persistent volume version cannot be handled as a funder. You must write your regular expression. I think it's saying that this MB. Let's see if no, it has like a weird syntax. Let's see. Okay, so I might already done this a long time ago. So delete B, and the name is was called PV. All right, so the persistent volume is deleting.
Hey, you gotta start putting that force at the end of that.
Yeah, I should have. Also the grace period. I don't know what's going on.
Hit control and C. Yeah,
Yeah,
go
let me
ahead,
see.
get away. There you go, though.
Let's see if I can create it down to something.
Oh, it's still being deleted.
Okay, I think it's B. That's just force. But I think, oh, I didn't name it. B. Okay. I think I need to delete the PVC that it may be connected to. Just K get PVC. Okay, K delete PVC. PVC. That's force. And then hopefully that is able to delete the persistent volume. Um, it's not found. Okay, so I think we're good now. Now we can go ahead and go back and do the create, and then we do K get PV, PV. Oh, all right, so now as we see here, it says it's available. Let me just make this look a little bit better. So name capacity. So we have the name PV, the capacity is 512 megabytes. And now this is a read write, and the X means many. The reclaim policy is retained. And that's what we're talking about. If the pod, if the pod is deleted or removed, it's not going to be available for any other pod to like claim this persistent volume. It's pretty much going to be useless, and you're just going to have to manually delete it. And then the storage class name is shared, as it said it was a requirement in the question. So far so good. So that looks good here. So let me do a clean up there. So now we have to create a persistent volume claim. So it's able to bound. So that's pretty much saying I'm requesting this amount of memory or this, this type of volume, this size volume. And if the things match up to the persistent volume, it should be able to claim to it and attach itself to it. So to do that, let's go back into the documentation to see how a persistent volume claim looks like, and we'll go from there. So this one looks good. So I'll go here. So kind of the same thing. So K um, API BC dot paste it here. So just run through the requirements. So it says it needs to be named PVC. So let's go ahead and rename that PVC. Access mode. So now, if I were to keep it like this, rewrite once, it's not going to bind to this persistent volume that we created because it needs to match. So PVC, the read write many needs to match, or it won't work. Volume mode file system is the same as what we had here. And now the size says it's requesting 256 megabytes. So we can do 256 I, and also the storage class needs to match as well, or it will not bind either. So these all have to match, or it won't work. So let's go ahead and save that. So that looks good. So we created PVC. Um, the claim should request 256. We got that. And the persistent volume claim is properly bound after its creation. So let's go ahead and create this file here. Okay, create minus F. That's going to be PV claim. That's created. So to check if we actually have it bound, we can just do a K get PVC or PV. And as you see, the persistent volume claim that we named PVC is now bound to that volume PV that we created. Although it requested 256 megabytes, it's still going to get the whole 512. So that's something that you should keep in mind, and that's why it's important to have like labels and specifics like storage classes, because you don't want someone who just needs, a 256 megabytes of some data, and then someone creates a persistent volume that's 2 terabytes. although it needs that, and if all the other things match up, it's going to take that 2 terabyte volume, which is obviously not, it makes no sense to do that. That's just, wasting space. Um, so there's other methods that you can to approach, avoiding that situation. But in this test, it's able to bind to it, and it has a full capacity of the persistent volume that we previously created. So now we've done step 1 and 2. And now step 3 is to create a persistent volume claim on the mount. We have to mount that claim on that pod named app. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to do a K run, and then the application the pod is going to be called app, and going to be using image, the nginx image. So dash dash image is equal to nginx, and then I'm going to do this in a dry run. So dash dash dry dash run go client. And then we can do a minus output YAML. And then let me just make sure it looks good first. Okay. And then we can put in a file here. So I'm going to do it, name it, um, let's do a PV pod, persistent volume pod dot, dot YAML. So let's go ahead and edit this file here, PV pod dot YAML, and make a few edits here. So what we need to do is first is do this, create a volume, so containers. Um, so we got to do a mount path. You can use it under Switzerland's. So mount path is so mount path or mount point, yeah, mount path, I believe. 45. Oh, you got it. Yeah. And then is it like this? Name. And then the name of the mount path, we haven't specified that yet, but we can just name it whatever. It just needs to match the volume name that we created. So name can be, I'll just put PVC ball, something. PVU, PVC ball. Then I could be doing this super wrong. I haven't done this in a while. So path itself is going to be here. Well, I'm sorry, it should be here. And again, this is going to be within a pod. So copy that.
I got a question while you doing that. Do you actually have to how you got containers? Do you actually have to add volumes up under the spec as well to do that, or you can do it without specifying volumes, then put the name and persistent claim and claim name and stuff? You
I
don't have
think
to have that.
I think it needs to be in the container because and
Okay.
it may not have to be, but in this case, say we have multiple containers and we don't want that other pod, the other container to have access to the
Oh,
pod.
okay.
You
We
can, like, I
specify to
guess,
one pod.
yeah. So I think
Gotcha.
that's a possibility. I think we can, but I think again, and this may be wrong. I haven't. This is
But
like,
we'll
I should
we'll
look at
figure
that.
it out.
Yeah, I should look at the documentation really because there was one in the beginning that we can look at. I think it was like right here and pod. So
So,
you
so
know,
you see where it got volume out down up under the container, right?
oh
Up
yeah,
under
yeah,
the
yeah,
command. So
yep.
yeah, I was thinking we need that.
This volume mounts. Oh, yep. There you go. Okay, so volume mounts. Use mount path. Okay, mounts, then name, then mount.
Oh, that still needs to be under the image. Like it's a part of the.
The image. Okay, yeah, it is. See, so yeah, so that's right. Volume mounts, name. and then
Yeah.
mount path should be there. Yep, is that right? I think it's cool. Oh, great point. And then it's volumes. So I can do like over here, I just do it on top and I can do volumes. And then name, and then this has to be the same name there for it to actually bind. And then it will have to be after name, it should be is it form. Okay, this is not a host path. This is not how we're doing it, but it will be persistent claim, um, persistent claim, I believe, and then it's persistent claim name. I mean, I think it's like claim name for
Yeah. It's like persistent volume claim and then claim name.
yeah, persistent volume claim, and then I think it's claim name. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
like claim,
I'll send the link where I'm looking at.
yeah, claim name, and then the name of the claim is going to be that one, the PV vol. So, oh no. And we named it. What did we name the claim in the question? Let me see. We named it PVC. So it needs to be PVC, but this needs to be PVC dash ball. But you say something in the chat, so let's go ahead and double check. All right. Persistent volume claim. Okay, that's what it was. I know it was something off. Of course, I'll do this. So persistent volume claim, claim name, in this
I
case is
think
that.
you when you run it, you might have an issue. I feel like your indentation might be off a little bit.
I think so.
Oh yeah, claim name should
Yeah.
be and then
Where
it's
you got the
under
dash name, everything
Yep.
need to go over.
Um, let's see. Let's do a create F PV. Oh, see, so we're good.
You
But let's see.
created it.
See your parts. They're running. Looks
Hey, it
good.
working.
Yeah. So sometimes, like, yeah, these type of things sometimes are like, like, because I can do the dash here, and then I can do like name, like space name, or I can like do two spaces. I think it doesn't necessarily like, like ruin it, like certain things, but I think I can get away with it. So it's cool. It's easier for me to remember, to be honest. For me, at least, that's what works. But it says it's running, so it would have given us an error. But yeah, so now we have the persistent volume claim, and if we do a K describe odd, we should be able to see like it's like bound and everything. So um, so you see here it shows the amount there, and if we really want to see it, we can do a K exec IT pod. Sorry. And then we can do a show, and then we can do a 'cause if it didn't exist, we should be able to CD right into that volume, right? So let's do here, and then see we're in there, so we can do PWD, and we're in var app config, so it was able to bind itself, so you're able to access it within a pod. Yeah, very easy. So good stuff, guys. I know I'm very rusty, so I need to start depending on the documentation because I don't think it's meant for us to remember all that stuff anyway. I don't really see the point out. Obviously, time is important, but you should be able to just grab a copy of this and paste it and put in your specifications. But that's that question, and I guess we can go ahead and double check what it was saying as far as the solution. So it says create a YAML file, as we've done under the data config. So that was good. And then we needed to create a persistent volume claim. So create the persistent volume claim with the read write many, so that it had to be read write many for it to properly bind. And then we went ahead and did the pod. So the mount path, so volume mounts, mount path, var app config, as we did. They decided to name it config PVC, but as you see, it matches that volume name, so it knows the volume to attach it to, and it was using the persistent volume claim and the claim name. So that's that here, and we did the describe pod, and yeah, we actually exec into it to even confirm it even further. So that's that one. So great job, guys. And next thing that we're gonna go ahead and do is probably what we've been waiting for was to do this here. So I guess I can make this larger and start doing some practice questions on the CKA mock exam. So we're gonna go over a few of them because these can be like longer questions. So we can probably do, I don't know, like 5 or 10 maybe at the most. But I want us to go ahead and at least try, and then I'll just do the end exam so we can actually review the questions that we've done and see if we what we can learn as far as what was right and what was wrong and stuff like that, so we can just get better. So um yeah, so if you guys never experienced, tried this out, it's Cold Cloud. It's very cool. They probably have one of the better um, platforms, for DevOps and Kubernetes, as far as exams and preparation, just to build your knowledge. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and knock these out here together. So yeah, let's start with question one, which is worth 8 points. So let's see what we got. We're in the cluster, the context, one, and it says we have created a service account called Blue SA CK21 Arch, a cluster row called Blue Roll, and a cluster row binding. So that's what we have created. Now it says update the permissions of the service account so that it can get the pods only in the default namespace of cluster one. Okay, so I need to create a service account, and this pretty much just gives permissions. It's just like creating, setting what can be done under this particular service account. Like what can you do, what can you see, and what authorization you have within the context of the controls that you allow. So let's go ahead and make sure that the service account was created. So okay, get a. All right, so it is created, so that looks good. And a cluster role called blue. So okay, get cluster role blue and see an output YAML. All right, so right now it says we have the permissions of apps, resource deployment, and the verbs are get. So we should be able to update this here. So let's do a K8 role, name blue, and let's go ahead and make the modification. So edit cluster role. Right. So API groups, I think that needs to be star or something or blank. Does anyone know what that should be as far as API groups? Because I know it shouldn't be just apps. I think that's limiting it to something.
No, I ain't made it that far just yet.
Okay, all right, no worries. But I know we know the resource is pods. It says within the pods, and it's also saying it can get the pods only in the default namespace of cluster one. Um, and before I do this, let me do a Q. I don't want to edit any of this, right? Right. So I need to do this here. Edit cluster row and then dash dash context equals cluster one. So that's a key piece here. So it needs to be done in the namespace of cluster one. So I need to do dash dash context cluster ones for this to be properly applied. So again, going back to this here, it says it should only be able to, you can get the pod only, right? So pod, it says it can get. So let's go ahead and look at API groups. Let's do cluster role. Let's just learn together here. Cluster role. Okay, and then I'm just going to do search on API groups. Okay, so okay, this is the one here. So the role is API groups. Following examples are excerpts from role or cluster role objects. Allow reading pods resource in the core API groups. So I think this is it. So yeah, so I think it's just there's two quotations there. So let's do that again. And then the resources pod, and it's going to be a get. And I think this is all good here. I know it's edited, so update the permissions. And then you can do it. This is what you can do to test. So you can do K auth, can I, and then can I get pods, dash dash as, then I believe it's do it. Can I? Let me see. Service account. Because I know the service account, um, it has a weird way of saying how we can do like a can I.
Oh, in his book it said K off can dash I dash dash I guess um list
Hmm.
dash dash as um whatever
As a
user name or whatever. But this probably just for username. But I think you should
yeah,
use the dash dash help when you going through if you don't see what you're looking for, so that you
that's a
can
great
find it
tip.
on the.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Dash dash, well, dash H, right? And then let's see if there's a service account option in here. Um, so I don't, it may not be. Oh, can I get log space as? I'm just gonna do this because I don't see anything in there. And this is an extra step. So sometimes if this takes too long, like during the exam, obviously you should just probably bypass this. But this is a great way to check your work, which is super important, right? Okay, found it here. So system service account. Um, okay, service account name dev SA and the namespace dev. So we in a default namespace, right? So we can do this. So we're in a default namespace. What was it? The namespace, the thing you just deleted. Cluster one. Okay, dev SA. So yeah, this is the actual service account, right? Then it's in default, right? So can I get pod system service account default blue? Okay, I need to as okay. So I think I did something wrong. Service account default blue. Service account is oh no, I put it backwards. So it should be default should be behind. Okay. Yes. Can I get pods as system? Okay, what is that? Judge context, maybe? What? I don't know. Oh, we changed the permissions to when it says default namespace, oh, is your default namespace cluster one? Like it's instead of default, is it cluster one? Um, only in default namespace of cluster one. So like, when we set the get pod permissions, he should have get pod access. Heck, I was thinking in cluster one. As long as you're in that namespace of cluster one, you should be able to get pod. That's that's how I was thinking. Yeah. Let's just make sure I think there's a cluster role binding too, right? So okay, get cluster role binding. I found it. No, it is to that. So yeah, I think it's something an error that I made. Let me
Hey, I tell you one thing. I won't be checking that shit on no test because that'll take all my time.
right. This thing is crazy. I thought it was supposed to be a quick little lesson, but let me see. That's it. Oh, it said no changes were made. Um, I don't know, but whatever. We're gonna skip this one. I'm gonna go back and review it. Um, figure this out.
Oh, it don't tell
Right.
you if you got it right or not
Nope. That's what I was saying.
until
We
you,
have to
oh, you
do
gotta
it
wait till
and
you get to
then
the end.
yeah, but we're not gonna wait till it gets in. We're just gonna I can just do it in exam after. So after we do a few
Oh,
questions. So I'm not gonna have us here all night. Okay, so it says a running pod called looper using busybox image that runs to while loop while true do echo. This pod should be created in the default namespace. Um, okay, all right, so okay, run pod dash dash image busybox, and then do a dash dash try dash run client one, then dash dash shell. And let's see if this works. Put in sections. Let's see. Let's see what it does. Command while true do. Okay. All right. I'm gonna edit this right. But I think I see something that I might need to do. So I'm gonna do YAML. So I'm gonna VI into that and then wait. Oh, oh, YAML. Okay. So I just think I need to add one more thing here. I'm just gonna do a O. And then I want to do a minus C. I don't know if that's going to help or what, but so, but okay. Yeah. And anybody has anything that you notice, also feel free to, it's
please
probably,
speak up, Diamond. Diamond is our Kubernetes guru that
oh
just
wow,
joined.
okay. It says running, and it's in the default namespace, um, and it says should print hello every 10 seconds. So let's do a logs. Okay, logs. If it's not showing that, probably wrong. Okay. All right. Well, I can do okay logs. Can I watch this? I wonder if you can watch it. Dash F. Oh, dash F. Following. Okay. That. Perfect. And yeah, so it's doing it every 10 seconds. So it looks like it's okay. It likes that. So I think we can move on to the next question. We worth 2 points. What a win is a win. All right, cool. Great. So it says there's a script located at root on the student update the script to add a command to filter display the label value component of the pod called okay. All right, we can do that. I used to hate these type of questions, but I think I'm more comfortable with them now. So it's only one worth 1 point. But so we're gonna do a kubectl get pods. Well, let me do a dash namespace because it's gonna be in the cube system as we know. So in the cube system namespace there, and then we can do get pods. Pods minus okay pods this minus oh YAML. I'm an old YAML guy. But it says it's looking for the component with the label with the value component. So I don't see anything that says component. Okay, right here. So it's under labels component cube API server. So it pretty much is asking us to create a command to do that. So we can do a k get pods minus OYAML, but let's do output JSON path. And you can usually do it like this too, so you can see it via JSON first. It's probably the better way to do it. Look at it in JSON first. So it says it's in the labels tab. So it's going to be under metadata, and then labels, and then the component. So we can do a minus O JSON path, and then equals, right? And then it's going to be dot metadata, and then dot labels, and then we can always look. Okay, so we're there. So you have that. Then we can probably just do dot component. Right. Okay, API server. Okay, so let me do this. So we got it. So it's Cube API server. So yeah, if you haven't seen any JSON path stuff, it can get pretty ugly very quickly, but it has to be within those brackets, and then under dot metadata, dot labels, dot component. If you have like a list, it can sometimes get like very confusing. But I do want to do this here. Dash dash context is equal to 1, because I don't know, it kind of burned me in a few questions. Oh, of course. Let me just do this and then okay, good. So now I need to go ahead and put this in the file there. So I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna append it here to this, right? But before that, um, paste it right and then do this so we can actually see what's in our original file. So I can do a cat here, and it just shows bin bash. So it's just a bash script. So what I can do is just output the content here and append it. So if I just do this, if I just do a regular one arrow like this, it's just gonna erase the bin bash with this content. So I'm just gonna append it. So it should up into behind it, and then oh, you know what? Do that. Sorry. Let me VI this. It actually it ran the script, so I need to change that. So I'm gonna go ahead and like delete this file, that line here, and I'll show you what I gotta do here, and I can just echo this. Echo kubectl. Let me just put it like this. I don't know if it's gonna make any difference, but here, I don't know. We just do bold instead. So there's something. But essentially, we're just gonna add this to the inner file, inner the command, and now it should echo, right? And then now we can do a shell here, Cube API server. So pretty much it's allowing us to run that command here. So it should remove that. So that looks good. I know that was convoluted. I would have done it a lot faster than not explaining it, but hopefully you guys got that one. Um, the next one says just set the context for anything. There's a pod called Elastic App. Is running on the default namespace. The YAML file for this pod, the single application container, and the pod writes to this file. One of our login mechanism needs to write these logs to send them to our stream login service, but we don't want to increase the read overhead. So recreate this pod with an additional sidecar container that will run along with the application container and print out the standard output by running command tail. You can use a busybox image for this sidecar container. Okay, so guess we got to make just create an additional pod. I mean, an additional container within a pod. So let's just go and take a look at it. Let's do a here. Let's see what we got. So it's using BusyBox, doing all this good stuff. Or Elastic Log. One of our logger mechanisms needs to read these logs to send them to an upstream logging server. So recreate this pod with an additional sidecar container that will run with the application container and print the standard output. Okay, that's in here. So it just say volume out var log. Okay, so I kind of understand what they want us to do, I believe. So we need to create a volume, right? Well, we need to create another pod. So let's do an O here, and then we'll name it. Um, Slide. Oh, I just say we need to name it something. No, sidecar. I'll just name it sidecar. And then the image is going to be BusyBox. You can chime in if you guys have like, if you're thinking of how to solve this one here. Um, the args should be the same thing, right? Um, so the argument should be and shell C, and it needs to be this command, but we need to make sure that it's attached to this volume. So, oops, volume mounts. Volume mounts. Name, name it Zima or something. I don't know. Oh no, it's gonna be within a pod. So yeah, I can name it mount. Name it needs to be. I'll just name it here. Var log. Um, then oh, I believe. Yeah, one time. It's gonna be. Doesn't necessarily have to be the same, but I'm just gonna make it the same just for simplistic purposes. Var log. So now essentially what we're doing is we're creating a container named sidecar with a BusyBox image. It's going to run this command here, and the volume mount itself is going to be var log, which is the same here, which is an empty directory. So the empty directory essentially is saying all the containers within this pod will be able to have access to this directory, to this container. I mean, to this volume itself. So now we named it varlog as well, but this is just saying within this pod, although they have the same name, this is not really because I can name this varlog null or something and it's fine. But this is the important piece where they all still map to this volume because it's using the varlog name there. So I think and print the container by running command and print to the standard output by running command. Okay. So anyone has any questions or any objections to what I'm currently doing, or because this one is a pretty interesting one, I think.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely a little different for me. So I hadn't seen. I'm not familiar with the sidecars. I had just learned about the knit containers this week. So I was kind of
oh, okay.
curious. Yeah, I'm not sure the difference. I'm definitely going to have to dig into those.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Oh, and it said Diamond said, this is interesting. Never seen this before. Is this testing your muscle memory to create containers that run alongside the main containers? Um, I don't know. That's a good question. A lot of these questions and stuff that they give us, I don't think they're always like really use case. And yeah, sometimes they just try to, bust your chops and saying if you really know this stuff. But a lot of the times, you're looking at documentation, you're taking your time, you're running it in like in a dev environment, you're not pushing anything to just production. So, yeah, I think a lot of this stuff is just, saying, can you do it? Um, but yeah, so good, great question. I'm glad that you were able to join as well. I'm very inspired by your progress in your career as well. So kudos to you. So yeah, let's do a K replace. Minus F, and then I'm gonna do a dash dash force to force it to swap the but I don't know if I have any mistakes in here, which I probably do. See what happens. And we'll just
So
adjust
so
this.
what would have been the difference between using the replace and just hitting reply again? Would the apply still update it, or you had to just replace it?
No, the apply wouldn't work on this in this case because the apply is going to try to create it and then it's going to say it already exists. So the replace is going
Mm,
to delete the pod first, as you see here, and then it's going to create the
mm-hmm.
pod brand new. So it kind of is the better approach to do it. Okay, okay, well we got something. Okay. The missing required field name and the volume mount. So let's do in the volume mount. But I named it. Oh, okay. I think it didn't like this. I gotta speech on path. I think someone said something in the chat. Let me see. Um, is it definitely useful? This is okay. You're talking about the actual the application platform. Oh, this is Code Cloud. Yeah, very good. It's a nice environment that you can like study and practice with. So yeah, highly recommend it. Um, yeah, so really good. And it's time, Terrell, since we've already created and deleted the other pod and it didn't create another one. Now we can do the K apply or the K create here and see if it did it. Okay. Um, so now it created it. Let's see. Is it like giving us a failure? Um, hey, it says 2 out of 2 are running, so it looks like it might have worked. So okay, get pods. I'm gonna do a K logs elastic, and then I named it. What did I name the pod? I named it something sidecar, of course. Hey, here we go. So we're able to recreate the pod, and it's now providing us the output. So I think we got that one right. That was 8 points.
Hey, do
So
me do, do
good.
me a quick question one more time.
Yeah.
Cat that file name so I can just look at that file one more time.
Which one? The
The
the actual file I
yeah
just did. This one.
yeah, just cat it for me, please. Okay, I just wanted to see exactly what you end up doing for the volume. So you got one container that was already there. Second one you
Hmm.
named sidecar busy box. You put the argument
Hmm.
so that it can capture and the volume mount. That's what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
Like you said, by having the same volume mount name in the mount path, right?
Yeah. So the mount path, so the volume name needs to be this, but
Mm-hmm.
this sidecar container, it can be I can put dash, whatever I want, and it's gonna be fine because they literally don't have any correlation here. But what needs to match is this. So if I actually go into this pod and I'm gonna do something just so you guys can see. Because we kind of like going over like we're gonna go like to 9:30, but just so we can like hone in on like the volumes because I kind of talked about volumes as one of the main things we're gonna discuss today. Let me go ahead and go. Let me do a K exec in there, right? K exec and it's IT, and then it's gonna be pod. What's the name of the? It's gonna be here. Um, and minus C. And it's gonna be sidecar, right? Is it or just gonna just put maybe put sidecar? It's gonna tell me to I gotta specify one. Oh well, is this the right one? Yeah. Exit minus IT minus C. I just put side R and then I'm gonna just do a show. right? So we're in the sidecar container. So we created it in the var log thing, right? So we can do cd var cd /var /log, and then we can do ls, right? And it's that last at log. So I can do I can touch a simple file, I don't know, file .txt. Nothing in it, but I'm gonna exit, right? Now if I go into kexec and then I do what's the name of this pod? I don't remember it. Thought I did a cat for you and it should have shown me. But um dang it. I'm gonna do this. This was supposed to be more smooth. But the cat, it's called Elastic App. So if I do a exec, let's see, Elastic App, and I do a cat /var /log. Contents. You see it says simple file. I know the file is empty, but because they're sharing the same volume
Sharing this.
technically, anything I
Yeah.
update in one pod, like one of them, they're gonna see the same thing because it's a shared volume, just like a regular um volume that we would have like in a you're in your home or something like that, and you have like a NFC or like some type of shared
Yeah, like a
drive.
file. Yeah, that file
Yeah, file
share.
system.
Yeah.
Exactly. You will
Gotcha.
be able to see all the changes there. So I just wanted to go ahead and like reiterate that point as far as a pod. So this is a really good question. I don't know if we should end on that. Well, we got more time. If you guys are good with time, I'll go to 9:30. If you guys are cool with it. Um, oh, is K short for kubectl here? Yes, it is. So it's an alias. It's a lifesaver. So I would highly recommend you use it. But yeah, it's kubectl. But it's gonna be kind of a long day if you just type in kubectl every like command that we're doing. So, um, if for those, there's actually in the cheat sheet. If you go on the cheat sheet, they have a few things that you can like easily just copy and paste. So like you see here it creates the alias for us. But in this system, they already have it because they know most people are going to already use it. So definitely take a look at this page here. It's very, very helpful for a lot of things that you're going to be going over along with I know we were just talking about the JSON path. They have like some JSON path examples that you can probably use to help you out a lot too. So very helpful. So yeah, good question though. So I guess let's move on to the next one. Um, Yeah, this is one we just answered. So number 5, let's see what they're gonna throw at us now. And if you see at the top, there's different sections. So this section, the 5 questions that we answered already are all in the architecture, install, and maintenance section. So they change, but I think it's like a few of them, like 5 to 10, like 5 to 7 questions that they ask per area. So here we go with another service account stuff, man. Okay, these are not my favorite things to do, by the way. So create SA. I think it's just a theme. I don't think that's all you got to do. Further, create a cluster role. Call this with permissions to get the deployments in cluster 1. So we can do K create cluster role, and then a name, deploy, and then we can do -H to really help us out with this. So it says it wants to create a cluster role called deploy, and with the get permissions. So I know it's going to be verb, I believe. Yeah, dash as a verb, and it's going to equal. So the verb that we want it to be able to do is to be able to get. So we want to
So
copy that. So it's going to be get, and then it's going to be get the deployments. So we got to do dash as resource. It's going to be equal to deployments, and then it's going to say in cluster 1. So dash as context equal cluster 1, right? So I think that's okay. Um, then we can do k get cluster role. Um, Just see it. Okay, I can do like a old YAML video. So get cluster role permission and deployment in cluster one. Yeah. So it's app. So I don't know if that's right, but I don't know. Finally create a cluster row binding called cluster row arts to bind that row with deployment account service account. Okay. So create the row binding, and then the name of it is that, and then it's going to do -h route. So we know that this it's a service account, right? So service account, I know it's somewhere. I don't know. Okay, yeah, service account namespace. So we can do a dash service account. Cluster row binding, cluster row. The cluster row name is the cluster row that we just created. So it's going to be that. And then I don't know why they didn't let me add service account. That's weird. The service account is equal to this deploy role, right? Okay, service account, and then I think I need to do context, do I? I'll just load just in case. So we created a cluster role, got the cluster role, got the service account attached to it, and I think that's really it. This is an easier part, I believe. Okay, namespace. Oh, service account. Okay, so service account, this. So namespace. So default, and then the service account name, yes. All right, and it's created. So I'm not doing a whole testing thing on it again. It'll be here all day, but hopefully that's right. We'll see if it's wrong or whatever. Let me check the chat, see if anyone has any questions. We're good. Okay, we're good. All right, and troubleshooting. So this is where you get interesting. So yeah, we're changing the section. So now this one is probably going to be a little bit harder.
Hey, I don't mean to come in between what you got going on. I don't know where everyone else is at right now, but I do know some of this stuff probably is a little bit further on down the road.
Mhm.
Um, so I guess I was just guessing like for the maybe in the last 10 minutes or so, can we like just kind of take it back to like the beginning as a refresher, like what's a pod, what's a deployment, and because I know Franklin, he's getting started on his journey now. I mean, I
Mhm.
know Diamond though, and in the midst of learning, we definitely going to spend a lot of time as far as like going over the getting familiar with the beginning commands because they play a large role as far as like the cluster, the nodes, the service before we can even get a grasp of these high context uh troubleshooting or things of that nature. But I'm not telling you how to do your what you got going on here, but a good review at the end would be great.
Yeah, yeah. Sure. What we have? We got 10 minutes. So yeah, if we want to do that, I guess let's just see how terrible I've done because I know it's gonna be like so much. Probably get like two or three right, but it's all about learning. So yeah, I guess let's at least see where we're at with the first few questions we did because I know I made some mistakes. So I see the first one was wrong. But we can see like where we can improve and stuff. So okay. I think we only went up to like five something or six. So then those two questions I know which ones those are. But yeah, we only went up to 1 through 6. So this one was the create a service account. Yeah, and update the permissions so it can get the pods only in the default namespace. So let's see what it said to do. Um, So I did this part under rules, API groups, replace apps with that. So we did that. Um, Resources, replace dash deployments with pods. Um, Crap. It's gonna let me see it again. Don't worry. Um, Wait, what happened? Let me do it again. The exam. So the first one, I'm surprised I got the first one wrong. I don't know what happened with that one. Um, but yeah, it says that's what we need to, but we were right with as far as the replacing that with this here. I'm not sure what went wrong with the other ones, but number two, we did the pod call. We already confirmed that one, so that one was good. The third one, uh, was this here on Arch, so we had to create we had to use JSON path, and kind of went over that one as well. And if anyone has any questions on any of the ones that we did, definitely let me know. Quiet lately. But yeah, this was an interesting one that we did, which was question four with the sidecar and going over the volumes and how we can share them. And this one was to create a service account to get the permissions. Okay, so that one was right. Oh, we didn't go over number six. I don't. Yeah, we didn't finish. We didn't even start that one. So it was only the one wrong at the beginning that we that I missed, which I thought I got. But okay, cool. But that was it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. As far as to go over just like a summary of I guess the like what is a pod and all that good stuff. Um, I guess to start off with a pod is essentially the smallest deployable unit that represents like a single instance of a running process. So um, pods can have multiple containers, so the containers are within a pod, but you can't just create a container alone by itself. It has to be created within the pod. So that's the smallest deployable unit that you can create. And pods are belong in a node. And a node is essentially a worker machine that Kubernetes cluster that's in a Kubernetes cluster. And essentially that's like, our computer here, our PC here or something, or like an EC2 instance that can be a node. So if you have three EC2 instances, for example, or three servers, those can all represent nodes. And then a cluster essentially is a group of those within like, a group of them will be a cluster. So a set of nodes can be within a cluster, and within the node itself, you can then have pods, and then within the pods, you can have containers. Um, and I guess Tora, you wanted to go over. I guess anyone have any questions on like that explanation or definition, or anyone want to have has a better way of explaining it? 'Cause I probably did a bad job at that.
Nah, bro, that was perfect. You explain what a node is, pods, containers.
Hmm.
You know, I guess I really don't have questions. It just,
Hmm.
I'm gonna state this just based off of what I'm learning. And I guess I'm gonna just share some tips as far as how I've been with my learning. At first I tried to go through Code Cloud, and just go through each lesson. Uh, you don't really learn that way. I feel like you have to spend, a lot of time on each service. Uh-oh. Did Diamond say something?
Yeah, she asked, so why do we
Oh,
use containers?
Diamond don't play.
Why you use containers?
Are you like joking for real or are you serious? I'm sure
Yeah,
you're joking, but I don't know.
I,
Because
t-
maybe,
I told you Diamond a wizard at this. Go ahead and explain it to the Diamond. Stop being shy.
yeah,
Unmute your mic.
yeah, Diamond. What's a container in your like? How do you explain what a container is? What does she say something in here? This is great for others to learn since it's recorded. My
Oh,
mic.
her mic ain't working.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. Yeah. So, but as far as to her point, yeah, what is a container and what does it solve? Um, so containers are a way that you can like package. an application, and that can consistently like work across like different like environments. So say I have like a Mac PC, a Mac computer, or I have a Windows PC, and my computer may have certain versions of Node or versions of a different of a certain technology. And what the container does is it says, okay, I don't care about any of that. I have everything that I need to go ahead and run. And no matter if you run it on, my machine or your machine, it still should, work just the same, all in the lightweight package. So all the dependencies that you may have for actual application is going to, it's pretty much going to work on your device. And pretty much it's a efficient for like better like resource utilization. Portability is the most important thing. So container, if you think of a container in a ship, like they can kind of stack on one another, and like you can, it's pretty much just shipping you a fully built application, and all you should need to do is have like a runtime engine, something like Docker, or container D to run it, and you should be pretty much smooth sailing from there. So it doesn't really care who's running it, it just knows how to run. So hopefully that explains it for the viewers who may not know much about containers. Um, and yeah, it's a very cool technology. It's been out for a while, and it solves a lot of those problems as we mentioned, as far as someone maybe working on something at a whole totally different location, environment, but they can still have the reliability of it working no matter what device they kind of use, really.
So in
But that was it.
in
Anybody else have anything that they're working on, and they may have questions about, or interested in, or
so
just want to
can
talk?
you hear my mic?
Yeah. Okay, I hear you.
So
Oh,
like
Franklin.
for Kubernetes, I know you mentioned that there are pods, and in pods you have containers. So still with those containers, say if I have a containerized version of GitLab or a Jenkins application, um, I would still need to use like a Docker Compose um, or some type of, like I mentioned, you mentioned Docker, so I still need to that'll be in that'll be inside the pod. I don't know. I'm just trying to
Well,
like specify.
good question. Good question. So I think what you're asking is how do we get. Yeah, it's because Kubernetes is a container orchestrator. So the image itself needs to already be built. You know what I'm saying? So you're referring to probably something maybe like some like a type of pipeline to where if you have your application locally and you want to package it itself as an image, and then use Kubernetes or Docker to to deploy or run that application. So you want to use things like for example like code commit to like commit your code to a to a repository, and then within that repository you can set up like a Jenkins build, and then Jenkins will see that update in your repository, and then that will run the build, and then it'll actually create a container for you, and not container, but it'll create the image, and then once the image is created, that's when you can use a runtime engine, a container runtime engine like Docker, and Docker will then be able to use that image and actually deploy your application from there. So that component that I think you're asking is outside of Kubernetes already. So it already has the image, and it's just saying, hey, use this image that I've already created and deploy it, across 5 pods or things of that nature, so you can scale it. Did I answer your question?
But
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Yeah. That's
I
what I
think
was
you're
getting.
right, Franklin. I think you're right because like you said, instead of running Docker Compose, you just gonna go and build your image, and then if your image is sitting up in Docker Docker Hub or somewhere, then you
Hmm.
just gonna put that in your Kubernetes uh
So
file
there's
path
no
to
need
build
for
it.
like a
Yeah,
Docker Compose.
Yeah, and the manifest,
nah,
yeah, you'll
you
reference
won't
the
need it.
image.
Yeah,
So,
you won't
like
need
when we do
Docker
like
Compose.
Docker, for example, like we do a Docker run, and then I can do random Docker run random. Then we do dash dash image, right? If
Right.
I do nginx, it's going ahead and like going to Docker. It's like it's going into Docker, and
Created.
pulling the Nginx image from
Right.
the local repo of Docker. So it's usually like docker.io.nginx or something like that, weird, dot latest or something like um whatever, you know what I'm saying? But if you have like a local image, you can reference your local like your private repository with your private images, which is going to be your application. And then that's where this is the actual most important thing that allows Docker to or Kubernetes to find that image and then be able to deploy it as long as it has the proper permissions. So that's kind of how it would get deployed to Kubernetes, and it goes from there as far as management.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Hmm.
Because my current job, where I'm doing,
Hmm.
we do want to. There's are already like government approved containers that we do run for certain applications, but we do want to like bring those in and put them in a Kubernetes cluster and
Yeah.
like a Jenkins, like there's the containerized Jenkins versions or containerized GitLab versions. So now you don't necessarily have to run a GitLab on just
Hmm.
your EC2 instance or just that node itself, but deploy
Yeah.
deploy to multiple nodes.
Yeah, I
So
don't know who you work for, but I did something with a company here. They were called, I think, like Range. They're called Rancher Government Solutions.
yeah, I heard of Rancher. Yeah,
Yeah, but they actually have like a government version of it, right? And they have, I think it's DISA, DISA approved or something like that. Yeah, so and they have like some type of like Kubernetes strategies or like running containers and stuff, and pretty cool. I think they're like one of the few that have the I'm not bookmarking this, but yeah, DISA regulated. I forgot the name of it, but they're like one of the few that are approved like
yeah,
to
they
run
just
like
just approved. Yeah,
government like containers.
right. Because anything running on government has to be approved by DISA. Um,
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah, I don't have any experience with it,
Knowledge
but yeah, I remember that was a big point that they mentioned when I spoke to them. So yeah, so I'm glad that it resonates. So yeah, they have those. So yeah, if your company's looking to do that, there's definitely ways to, and I'm sure it's quite lucrative with the type of contract that you could potentially get with that opportunity.
Nice. I'll look into that. Thanks.
Hey, no worries, man. Great work. Great questions. So, yeah, hopefully you guys, I don't know when you came in. I think you came in, as far as a good time and hopefully got some value there. But yeah, I mean, I think this was a great session. I love the feedback, and you know, we're here every Wednesday, so anything that we can make this better and improve, of course. If I'm talking too fast or doing the most, or I'm like you see in the beginning, I'm not perfect at this. I make mistakes all the time, and yeah, I really enjoy everyone being here and learning with me. And Diamond, thank you for joining. Yeah, hopefully we can see you as far as again and know what it might so we can hear your voice. But love your engagements nonetheless. And again, this is gonna be recorded, so I know you did say you came in late, but you can always watch it. I'm gonna send the link out, and we'll be able to check in. Oh, there your Bible study. Oh, yeah, we can't override that. So, um, as long as you pray for us, and we appreciate as far as even if you do show up a little bit late, so it's definitely not a problem at all. So yeah, thank you again. So I don't have really anything else for this week's session. So again, be on the lookout maybe like a day or two, and I'll have it posted on YouTube and I'll send it in the chat. And you guys should be able to go ahead and watch it if you need to and hear how bad I probably sound. But all in all, I love the engagement. So thank you everyone for showing up, and yeah, hope you have a great night. And yeah, see you next week if you can show up.
I
Thanks.
appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
All right, to everyone. Bye bye now.